Hello, hello, welcome to your reading. So this is a tarot reading for Group 7. If you're a part of Group 7, let me know in the comments. If you did not know that you were a part of Group 7, congratulations! Welcome to Group 7. You are now a part of it. So obviously for a Group 7 reading, I wanted to pull 7 cards, and it kind of presented itself in this way where I think this is like one layer to the reading. This is almost like the collective layer, and this is more so going to be the kind of personal stuff down here. And I also pulled a couple of angel number sticks, and it's really interesting that this is for Group 7 and we got 8 and 9. So there's kind of a progression happening here. So you may even feel like you're leveling up, and maybe even Group 7 is kind of a part of that. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into the reading. So kind of the overall message that I heard from this is that Group 7 is nothing new. You know, it's like Group 7 has been here all along. It's more so the thing now is that we are aware of Group 7. So all of us that are collectively linked together or share all of these similarities that we are just now finding out about because the algorithm happened to bring us together. It's like now that we have a name for this concept, it's like we can begin to identify it. And I think that's a beautiful way to describe the Ace of Swords in general from tarot, is that sometimes when we're introduced to a new idea or concept, it helps us see the world in a slightly different way. And so we feel like we can understand it a little better, and things seem to just kind of click a little bit almost. So with the Princess of Wands in reverse, I feel like collectively we still don't really know what to do with Group 7 other than just like, hello, we're here. Let's hang out, let's do stuff, I don't know. And I feel like, especially with this 8 and 9 here, and there's actually kind of a lot of like 8, 9, 10, 8, 9. It's almost like we have every number but 7 in this reading here. Yeah, 6 even. And I kind of feel like, you know, now that we are aware of this concept of Group 7, we can even begin to break it down further. So it's kind of about us, I think, more and more so finding our particular collectives or the people that we resonate with. And we kind of create our own little Group 7s, a Group 8 or a Group 9, if you will. I think especially because the artist only did Groups 1 through 7. Also, as a side note, does anyone else think that Group 7 took off because it has a similar cadence to like 6, 7? You know, it's like Group 7. You don't have that with like Group 5, you know? So I think it's like we all also just kind of picked up on the vibe. And I think that's why everyone in Group 7 seems so cool. And again, you're here, you're a part of Group 7, babes. You're it. So before I get into the next layer, I want to talk about the card on the bottom of the deck, which is the 9 of Swords in reverse. So usually when this card is up, whoa! So usually when this card is upright, it's about anxiety. And I feel like that's super symbolic of the cards even spilling out of my hands right there, where it immediately kind of stressed me out. But then I realized it doesn't matter if these cards are here for a little bit. So let's turn this in reverse. No stress, no anxiety. No stress here in Group 7. And when we finish picking up all the pieces, it's all exactly as we left it. So I feel like that could be a particular message for some people out there, especially if you struggle with anxiety, is that it's okay if things fall apart for a little bit, because you can always just pick things back up and then return back to where you started. That also kind of makes sense with the first angel number that came out here, which is balance. Consider this a reminder to take breaks when you need them today. So while I had to go and pick those cards up, it let me have a moment to kind of pause and breathe, which I think can be very necessary. Yeah, and never stop playing on the other side of this. I think that's why it's important to take breaks every now and then, is just so we don't start to take things too seriously. Like, I don't know, even when Group 7 first started going around, I was a little annoyed at first because I was like, oh, what is this? I don't know what this is. Like, oh, everyone's a part of Group 7. But then it's just like, it's fun, you know? It's like, we're all Group 7. Like, I don't know, don't stop playing. Don't stop having fun. I think having fun, especially in, you know, the anxiety-producing times that we are in right now, I think that just kind of will help collectively. It's like, A, you'll have a better time, and if you're having a better time, the people around you will have a better time, and everyone will just eventually start having a better time. Okay, and then the other card that we have here is the Eight of Wands in reverse. This is going to be more so kind of like relating to your personal life rather than just group 7 as a collective. But since we are a collective, I do think we are probably experiencing very similar personal things right now, especially with, again, just all the synchronicities or things that kind of do line up already with what we've experienced with this. So the Eight of Wands in reverse is about things moving slowly. When this card is upright, it's almost like a domino effect card where it's like once one thing happens, a lot of other things happen very quickly in succession afterwards. So I feel like a lot of you could be waiting for your domino. You're waiting for this one thing to happen to kind of set everything in motion. And I feel like with all of that waiting, it feels like things are just taking forever. It feels like things are moving so slowly, which I think could also be why we may be drawn to things like TikTok or social media where they are a little bit faster moving, because it's like we need that balance for the slowness that we're experiencing. So I am going to talk about this card at the bottom because I think it links up to this World card in reverse here. So you have two Major Arcana cards showing up, both of them in reverse, and both of them representing these key moments in a cycle. So the Wheel of Fortune represents, again, this halfway point in the cycle where it really feels like things are starting to move and progress forward. To me, this represents the turning point from the first phase into the second phase. And then the World card here marks the completion of a cycle. It is the very last card. It's almost like an epilogue card to me, where it's not this active ending, which would be the Judgment card before it, but after that happens, you know, in books, you always get that final chapter where it's like, and then the hero went back to the village and lived out his life in the Shire and all of those things. So with both of these being in reverse and both of these being major like milestone markers, I feel like that is kind of this thing that feels like it's missing, where I think a thing that is not a part of, I'll say, the modern American collective society are having some of these major milestone markers. Like quinceanera or a coming of age, you know, or like symbolic hair cutting or wearing it in a certain way or dressing a certain way or wearing jewelry a specific way, you know, depending on the culture. I feel like because it feels like there's nothing to really set things into motion, it makes it hard to begin, or it makes it hard to feel like you're ready. Where I think that is so important with these graduations and little progress moments, or even sometimes like annual reviews. It's like a thing to check in on and recognize that you are moving forward. And if you don't have anything to tell you you're moving forward, sometimes it feels like you're stuck. And so with this other card here being the Six of Swords, I feel like, you know, you feel like other people are constantly moving ahead and it feels like you are not moving in that same direction. Like you see, it's like, you know, these wands are facing this way, but this Six of Swords, which is upright, is going in this direction. And this would be towards the future in tarot, and this would be towards the past. So it feels like maybe you feel like you're regressing, or you feel like you used to be better. I feel like there's this energy of idealizing a past version of you where it's like, oh my God, in high school, I was so good at this, or I was so much better than I am now. Like, why can't I just go back to how I was back then? Or when I was in college, or when I was 20, or, you know, at this point in my life, you know, whenever that may be for you. And I think because you're shooting back towards a past version of you, of course, it wouldn't feel like you're moving forward. And I think one of the biggest reasons why you feel like you need to go back to this previous thing is a lot of times the reason why somebody wants to go back to a past version of them is because it's before something traumatic happened. And because you had to focus all of your time and attention on picking up those cards. Oh my God, just like the Nine of Swords that came out earlier. It's like just like that happened. You had to take the time to gather up all of those cards before you could move forward. And it's like you're trying to go back to the time before those cards were spilt rather than recognizing that that just happened. You know, that's just a thing that happens. You know, sometimes you're a kid and you spill your juice. And you just clean it up because it happens and it's okay. It's not the end of the world. And maybe when you were younger, it wasn't made to feel that way. Maybe it did feel like the end of the world when you spilled a cup of juice and So now you're a little hard on yourself because it feels like you're not allowed to make mistakes. And that leads us into the last card here, or I guess not really card, the last stick, which is to open a new door, you must leave the room that you're in. So in order to really move forward, I think you have to let go of this idealized version of past you. Oh my God, yeah. And what are you ready to leave behind as you enter a new chapter of your life? So recognize that chapter 1 of your story is over. Can you imagine reading a book where nothing significant, we'll say, happened to the main character? Think of this as your origin story. You know, think of this as the catalyst that started adventure. Even though this thing happened, you have this power now in the moment to choose what you do moving forward. So if you do want to do something that you used to do, that you don't do anymore, start. Recognize that you are starting from a new chapter. The hero who took a break after he slayed the monster will have to train again to get back into the swing of things. That's you. You're that warrior. You slayed that monster. You picked up those cards. And now you're beginning again. And that's okay. You know, you're not allowing your story to end back when it did. You're choosing to continue to write more. And I think that's beautiful. So thank you so much, Group 7. Go ahead and tap that follow button if you would like to be a part of my personal collective here at this channel and get more readings similar to this. I also offer personal readings, Reiki sessions, crystal grids, and so much more good stuff on my website. And you can check out all of that through my profile. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.